Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show for your Thursday edition, the final show of the week. As I told you, tomorrow I have power outage here in the whole neighborhood. They're doing some electrical work out front, so no show mañana. Unfortunately, I can't. Unless I do it from a laptop in a car somewhere, it's probably not going to work. So this will be the final one for today or for this week. It is the 5th of December. Man, what an exciting day! It was exciting on a lot of different fronts, but yeah, I was watching it last night as it went through. And unfortunately, it logged me out of my Coinbase account. So I was trying to log back into Coinbase and Kraken as it was just eating through that supply wall. I tried to get a recording of it, but unfortunately, I didn't get it in time. But yeah, I watched as it went through. And it's interesting when you look at the supply wall, especially for those of you who are new, typically it's such a giant amount of sellers out there. The belief is it can't go through that. It's not going to make it through that. It's going to take forever. It went through it like a hot knife through butter. And I think it's a combination of several things. It's that psychological, here we go, we're breaking through. They buy it. And then a lot of people that had orders to sell just hit that cancel button and evaporated. Because I watched the time in sales on Coinbase, and while there were a lot of transactions at 100,000, it didn't seem like enough to rip through what was there. So we saw that really nice pop up. And I guess the big question now in everybody's mind is, what's next? Yeah, we hit that 100,000. It was great. What's going to happen next? Well, as was mentioned here at the very beginning of the show, I think it was pretty much that question is kind of answered by Liz. And I think she's right. She says, what's next for Bitcoin? Bitcoin back below 100,000 seems to be the answer, but probably not for long. I would agree with that. I think that that's probably what's going to happen. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of candlesticks, shooting stars, formations like that. Well, if you look at the end of the day candle today for Bitcoin, this is the spot price on Bitstamp's exchange. Just look at that shooting star formation today. We tiptoed above 100,000. We got up to 103 and change. In the spot market, our all-time high now was 103,647. And then it just came screaming back down. The way it sold off, too, was pretty aggressive. Here's your 5-minute chart. You know, we hit it, stuck there for a little bit, challenged it again, and then immediately came ripping back down. And I'm not shocked or surprised anyway by this. I think everybody understands that that's bound to happen. I did think we would see a bit more of a pop. I thought we would actually maybe get up to 110, 115. I thought we'd really see a big rip as it brought in momentum. But as expected, if we look across the spectrum of news portals today, it's everywhere, right? It's literally everywhere is everyone talking about Bitcoin, which is great. Welcome to the fold. Even President Trump tweeted out today. I don't know if you guys saw that. He said, congratulations to Bitcoiners. You know, you're welcome, he said, which is funny. He certainly had a bit to do with it. And now talking about bigger things to come in the future. So all in all, pretty excited. And, you know, if you look at the impact on my portfolio, certainly it posted some nice gains today, but you just kind of shrug that off and smile because you know it's going to have a pullback, and I think that's probably what's coming. Then the real question is, what does that second wave look like? And you know, I've emphasized here many times, especially with that video I did for bar chart, that you have a completely different change now in the regime, or at least will have a completely different change in the regime. Time permitting, if I could find some effort to do it, what I wanted to do is make a table of all of the positions under Biden that were notorious and outspokenly against cryptocurrency and digital assets. And then on the other side, I want to show their replacement and how they're positive for crypto. It was a conversation I had last night with a friend of mine, and he's like, do you really think you'll see a change? And I said, listen, just about every single person who was aggressively against digital assets and crypto is being replaced by somebody who is positive and more open-minded towards crypto and digital assets, from regulatory to political. Awesome. That's a good thing. So yeah, Liz, I think you're right. I do believe we will see this sell off. I think you'll see Bitcoin drift a little bit lower. Not like we're going to get it down to, 60,000 or anything like that. But, maybe we get down into the high 80s, right? Another 10,000 down from here. That would kind of make sense to me, just looking at the chart here. If you look back, you can see that there was this really big move up in early November, mid-November, where it just shot up and then went sideways. It wouldn't surprise me to see it drop back down into that 88,000 mark. But you know what? Right now, the euphoria is so strong, it might not make it down that far. The candle here is what kind of has me a little concerned, and I am a candlestick pattern guy. This does tell me that we're going to see some more downside movement, most likely tomorrow and the next day, going into Friday. But that doesn't always come to fruition, does it? Sometimes it doesn't. Mike says, Bitcoin teased us more today. Well, hey, at least we got some reward out of it. There was a little satisfaction of that Bitcoin price chart breaking through 100 and then 101, 102, 103. Funny how quickly that thing moves as well. It was pretty exciting. Big Eb, says Paul Atkins would be great for crypto. Absolutely. Again, the Secretary of the Treasury, you've got the Vice President, the President, and the Chairman of the SEC all being pro-crypto. Those are just some of the bigger names, but there's a lot of other names down below that have switched over or will be switched over to pro-crypto administration. So I think this is the early days. I think we're just kind of beginning the run. It's great to hit 100,000, but honestly, that's not the end goal. It's just an obstacle on the way to the end goal. A friend of mine asked me again last night, what's my target? And like as I mentioned with you, 250 is the low side that I think we'll hit by next year. If everything goes as planned with regards to Trump, if we get a strategic reserve, then all bets are off. If a strategic reserve is established for the United States with regards to Bitcoin, then all bets are off. Then, you could be looking at 500,000-600,000 by next year. And here's why that transpires. And I'm sure that some of you would be like, yes, please get to 500,000-600,000. Yeah, it could go much higher. Here's why. Imagine if you have a government that's struggling financially, that's deeply, deeply, deeply into debt, and is printing more and more money every single day to pay for our debt. Oh, wait a minute. I'm talking about the U.S. government. I was saying imagine. Take the U.S. government, for example. Right now, the government doesn't really hold assets that are appreciating in value other than gold, and no one really knows if they even have the gold. So if they create that strategic reserve, take those U.S. Marshal Service Bitcoin, throw it at the Treasury, lock it up, don't spend it, then the government starts buying Bitcoin. Now, here's where it could put MicroStrategy to shame. MicroStrategy has to issue bonds to buy Bitcoin. They issue bonds. They do zero interest coupons, that convertible bonds into shares, and they also sell bonds outright. That's how they have to raise this money. MicroStrategy raises the money, they buy the Bitcoin, drives the price up. We've gone through this already. The government's in a more unique position. The government can really just make money out of thin air or issue these 10-year bonds that are going to earn 4%, take those hundreds of billions. This is no longer child's play like MicroStrategy where it's like, oh, 5 billion, 6 billion. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars and start buying Bitcoin as a strategic asset. Now you really start to push the price up. And of course, when that happens, what do you think is going to happen from other central banks around the world? They're just going to go, hey, we got to get some of this too. Now all of a sudden, other big central banks having a strategic reserve of Bitcoin. If that happens, and again, that's a stretch. I'm not saying it's going to. I am optimistic that the conversation will be very a prominent conversation in Q1 of next year. If it does happen, you look at Michael Saylor's comments he made on, what was it, Fox News or CNBC or those yesterday, where he said it could be at $13 million per Bitcoin by 2045. If banks around the world, particularly central banks, start establishing Bitcoin as a strategic reserve asset, corporations around the world will start doing the same thing. To me, man, I kind of laugh at the prospect of 13 million. And I think everyone here, most of you would probably laugh at that too. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. But is it? Is it ridiculous to think that demand for this asset surges significantly because now it's a strategic reserve for the U.S. government and governments around the world? I mean, that's huge. Now, when we say that, this is not a 1-year play, 2-year play. Could we see, if the U.S. government makes it a strategic asset reserve, I do think you could see 500,000 by next year. I think with just all the regulatory changes from the SEC, the crypto clarity, removing some of these obstacles from a political level and legal level, will push Bitcoin up to 250 by next year. Again, that's my low side. If we get the government saying strategic reserve, 500,000, absolutely in play. I think it might be a bit of a stretch to say that you're getting into 7 figures by the end of next year, but if the government starts buying Bitcoin, printing money, buying this asset, driving that asset up, buying more Bitcoin, I mean, ultimately it could theoretically be a solution to our debt because you're printing cheap money that's fake and buying something that many people believe is fake in Bitcoin and driving price up. Hey, Patrick, man, long time no see. Good to see you. Big Eb says Bitcoin is generational wealth. I agree. Like, I've told you that I'm going to be selling my crypto portfolio next year. That is the plan as we speak today. But if we declare strategic asset reserve of Bitcoin and the rules change and the law opens up and miners are welcome and infrastructure is put in place for digital asset companies, I may not sell for the next decade or two. As he says, generational wealth, absolutely. I've been saying for the past couple of years, try to get yourself at least one. Get a whole coin. Become a whole coiner, and I think you'll be doing just fine down the road. If it got to 13,000, I was laughing with my students today. It's one of those things that never in a million years would ever aspire to be this, or it's not really, I don't have like a monetary goal as a level of financial wealth, but I never, ever, ever, ever thought that I would say, well, I'd be a billionaire. Look, if Bitcoin got to 13 million a coin, I'd be a billionaire. That would be odd to say, but I don't think we'll get to 13 million anytime soon. Again, it's going to be a long time down the road. Sure, let's go over Tesla. Yep, we'll go over Tesla here in a little bit. I have no problem with the government owning Bitcoin, but I don't think I'm a fan of printing money to buy Bitcoin, just me. I'm with you, Steve. I'm with you. However, while on one hand, it's a bad thing, right? We don't want them to be just printing money out of thin air, but it does solve some of their problems because they're printing money. If you're in the government's shoes, forget your position, Steve, or mine, just think government. If I'm the government, I look at this thing and I go, wait a minute. We can print money and devalue the U.S. currency, which is the goal of the new incoming Secretary of Treasury. He wants a weaker currency, so does Trump. They want a weak dollar. Why? Because it's good for growth. A weak dollar is good for exports. Anybody exporting would be great. So printing more money would dilute the value and purchasing power of the dollar that you have. But from a government perspective, they now will be paying back debt with a weaker dollar, and they're printing this money that's dropping in value. They buy more Bitcoin with it. That drives their holding and the value of the assets that they hold up in the eyes of the global community. That now allows them to buy back or at some point pay back that debt with the proceeds from the Bitcoin gains. So the government is actually, this could be a machine for the government to get itself out of some pretty big holes financially. Yes, it's going to print more money. It's going to dilute the value of our dollar, ruin our purchasing power, probably bring on some inflationary aspects as well. But again, the government may be looking out for themselves in this situation, not necessarily you and I. So yes, I agree. It would be a bad thing to keep printing more and more money. But if I'm the government, I'm looking at it going, this looks really good right now. Maybe we'll do this. The government has proven it is no business investing. They just know how to spend it. That's it. Exactly. And maybe this is their attempt at fixing that by using Bitcoin. So we'll see. Again, we've got a long time. This topic, which years ago people thought was going to go away and disappear, not going to go away. There was a guy, it's really interesting how people change or treat you. There was a guy who followed Power Trading Radio, a really, really nice guy. I still think he's a really nice guy. Whitey something. And I had a couple guests on the program talking about Bitcoin, talking about cryptocurrency and digital assets. And at that point, I was really interested. And at my point back then in 2017 and 18 was, I think you should have a small amount of your portfolio in cryptocurrency and digital assets, not aping in with everything you got. That's crazy. And this guy just went off on the powers that be at Trading Academy and me with direct message saying that I'm leading people to slaughter, that I'm a scammer, that Bitcoin's a fraud, and all of a sudden I was like, hey, whoa. If you feel that way, then don't buy any of it. If you think something's sketchy and you're nervous about it, do not buy it. If you think Bitcoin's a scam, don't buy it, please. I'd love to have a conversation with that guy today because I'm willing to bet you he's changed his mind on Bitcoin, but he still hates me. He blocked me on all social media platforms. He won't talk to me. It's like, wow, really? Okay. Move on. Onward and upward. CB, yeah, I was not impacted by the earthquake. That's, by car. By car to the epicenter of that earthquake was probably 11 hours away. It was way up north, but my friends in NorCal felt it. There was a tsunami warning for San Francisco, but they called that one off. Right on the coast, too. 7.0 right on the coast. My friend has a good buddy that lives right there in the epicenter of the place. And it certainly jolted, but, didn't impact me. I hope everything is all going good for those people that were in that center of it. Let's see. Hermelin, no words out today. The word is out today. 100,000 is back under probably because of talk to a girl who got rug pulled. Well, look, this was expected. I've told you before we broke 100,000. I thought we were actually going to sell off, get down towards that low 90s or high 80s, and then challenge it again. Lo and behold, we got that breakthrough yesterday, but this candle certainly does not look good. It does not look good at all. But I'm not worried. I'm actually kind of embracing, would like to see a little bit of a sell-off here, right? And then have it regroup. Ideally, I'd like to see it hold nowhere lower than this 87 mark. Have a little bit of a pullback, that's fine. In a perfect world, it would come back down to about 92,000, stall there, and then start its ascent back to the upside. But who knows? Again, I'm not going to be sensitive to small price fluctuations. If it drops all the way back down to 50, I may actually look at buying more, but I don't think we're going to get down to that 50,000 mark. So that's Bitcoin 100K. I should have some confetti and things flying around and saying what's next. So I will move on because we've talked about crypto way too much this week. Let's shift focus and go into something kind of somber and sad, depressing, I guess. I don't know if you guys saw it. The CEO of United Health Group was literally assassinated last night. I watched the video. It's crazy. I'm watching a movie on, I'm watching a TV show on Peacock called Jackal, which I really like, but it's about an assassin. And in the Jackal, this assassin seems like a normal, nice, really good guy. Of course, he's an assassin. And when he does his hits, he's so calm, so collected. There's never panic, never stress, never running, never freaking out. If you watch this video, don't worry, it's not graphic in the sense of you see blood going everywhere, but you definitely see the guy get shot. This guy comes off the curb from behind a car, very calm, just puts up his gun, tuck, tuck, shoots him. I think it jammed because he reloaded his gun, recocked it, went over and shot him like 4 or 5 more times. And directly within like less than 10 feet to the right of the assassin is some customer standing there drinking a coffee, and she's like, oh, and just starts running. Doesn't even care about her. Just boom, took this guy out like a highly trained hit. It was pretty crazy how calm this, and he just slowly walked away. Bizarre. So I don't want this to come across the wrong way. Obviously horrible for this individual. I don't think that should ever happen. However, there are times when things like this happen, where markets react in an extremely volatile way. And I was watching United Health Group stock today on that one. So if you look at UNH, I almost pulled the trigger. I didn't. I was just kind of like, felt a little bit uncomfortable with this one. But I was thinking of selling puts at this 560 level. Look, this is United Health Group, man. This is a monstrous company. This company is performing very well, has been performing well for years. I don't see this trend changing. Now, I may visit this again tomorrow and see if there's pain, but this was such a big sell-off. There's a lot of panic out here. And I thought, well, maybe I'd go with the 560s here because people were selling off in panic. People sometimes, when a CEO resigns, a company will fall significantly and just plummet in value. And I agree with Steve here. He says, I'm giving it a few days. Me too. That was my knee-jerk reaction was sell some puts on it. There's panic in the streets. This is going to be really good premium. The premium was pretty high today, but I want to give it a few more days just to see. Steve says that 540 area. Yeah, but you're down below this area of demand. I'm using this spot right here, and I see what you're saying. You're saying go below this tail here from the 15th of October. That low point on that tail was 543. Nice, good. I like that. Could be a spot as well. We'll see if the premium's there. We'll see what the premium is. But anyway, that was just such a wow type of moment. And this is one of those things where somebody, I forgot was in here, maybe it wasn't here. Somebody messaged me, I think, and said, if you're on an airplane and the door flies open or someone gets sucked out the airplane while you're on it and you log into your account at Schwab and start shorting that airline, is that insider trading? No. It's just not public knowledge yet. It happened right away. These types of events happen every now and again, not to this level of assassination, which in my mind, clearly a hit. It was clearly a hit. There was no argument about it. This was a targeted attack. I hope they catch the guy and it comes out to see what actually happened here. Who put a hit out on him? Somebody put a hit out on that CEO. And, does it mean that United Health Group is fundamentally changed now? I don't know. Does it change the character of the company? Maybe. But maybe it's worth looking at some options here if premium continues to slide. Let's see. You know what? Yeah, I saw that as well. I was looking at Intel. I didn't bring it up today, but you're seeing this big sell-off. We were talked about this sideways channel back here in August through September, where it's like, okay, if it breaks out of there, there's your buy opportunity. Well, the high side of that was 22. We rallied up to over 26, and now you're getting some pretty big sell-off in Intel the last 5 sessions. Now, here's the part that I'm concerned about. So, I really like the prospects for Intel. Everything remaining constant, I like Intel. Okay, everything remaining constant. However, we know we have a change of leadership. Trump and Elon Musk may look at what Intel is doing with that chip builder bill that passed, the chip maker bill, and the billions of dollars that Intel has received, and maybe not deliver on that. There might be, and I think that that's why you're seeing the panic sell. The sell-off here is that maybe there's talk internally that they may not receive all the funding that they said they were going to get because they're not really delivering on anything. Or maybe that Musk and Trump and Vivek feel it's a waste of money and resources to support Intel like this. So it does have that air of uncertainty and volatility to Intel's price chart. I still think if you can pick it up around $20, you're probably going to be fine long term. But yeah, this is another one. Politics, uncertainty. You never know. So yeah, nice earnings for Lululemon and Ulta. Both of them beat and looking great in after-hour session. You guys should. I need you guys just like be my sidekicks for the show. I mean, you're seeding me all the directions I want to go today. Love it. Margaret, there's your Lululemon. It's up another 10.5%. So you guys can see the faint blue line up here right now, trading at $380 per share. It was just back in early August. This thing was down around $229. So it's been a great run for Lululemon. And then Ulta. These are two stores I don't frequent at all, but nice blue pop. This blue line here, you're back up to $440 on Ulta. Sadly, I look horrible in really tight, skin-tight pants, and I don't wear makeup. So maybe I should. I feel like these bags under my eyes are getting a little bit ridiculous. Let's see. So Steve says, didn't they already get that? They're building manufacturing in Phoenix now, half completed. So I heard that they didn't get it all, because I remember seeing an interview with the CEO talking about how slow it was to get the funds. So yes, they're building it, but I don't believe they've received all the funds. They may have gotten some of that. I'd like to dig deeper into that one. It'd be interesting to see how much is outstanding, because I agree, if they don't get it, they're in trouble. They're relying on it. And part of my assessment of why I would be interested in Intel is knowing they have this government fund coming in. So here we go. The CEO is being invested. Oh, I didn't hear that. The CEO is being investigated for insider trading. Well, and I saw a lot of comments in here like, didn't you have a bodyguard? There's a lot of CEOs that are walking around without bodyguards. I don't think that they should have to walk around with bodyguards, but sad to think that someone could come and take the life of an individual like that easy for no apparent reason. Who knows? I mean, with United Health Group, maybe they're denying some insurance claims and messed up some family. Who knows? Could be anything. Could be a rival competitor. I mean, the program I'm watching, Jackal, on Peacock right now. Spoiler alert! If you're watching it or you want to see it, I'm going to spoil the first couple episodes for you. But essentially, it's corporations putting hits out on other people because it threatens their business. It was crazy that this assassination attempt looks just like that. And I'm wondering, was it a rival? Whatever. Just bizarre that we have so much video footage of almost every single thing that can happen. All right, Lisa says, I looked to short it, but when I looked, it didn't appear to be dropping on the news. It should have looked a bit later on, second time. Intel might be a put-sell situation. We got that one covered. Ooh, you guys have all kinds of good comments here. The crazy part is the shell casings had descripted writings. Yeah, so I'm curious. I didn't see that. I did not see that one with regards to something written on those shell casings. Typically with those like assassins like that, they police their brass. So this was clearly, if there's something written on the shell casings and he left them, that was done on purpose. Interesting. Yeah, so was the Jackal, was it with Bruce Willis? For some reason I thought it was Val Kilmer, but maybe I'm thinking of a different one. But there was a movie that came out years ago called The Jackal, but the TV series, it's good. I like it. Definitely a fan. UNH has one of the highest levels of refusing to pay the claims. I'll take your word for that one, Les, but I could see that being cause for someone to just lose it, right? I mean, I can imagine having a family member that's been denied claims, puts the whole family into bankruptcy, and the insurance company being all smug about it. Crazy stuff has happened. How many bodyguards does Elon Musk have around him? I don't know. Yeah, I have seen him. Most of the time I see Elon Musk in a video, he's got bodyguards. He's got usually 2 or 3. Bruce Willis, Richard Gere. All right, I'll have to rewatch that one. The bullets read, deny, defend. Ooh, really? Well, this is a movie in the making right here. Crazy. I understand he and Vivek not surrounded. Yeah, Elon Musk does have security. Not all the time, but like most of the video stuff I see, he's got 2 bodyguards, and they look pretty good. I mean, they're always just ready for action. But, I mean, with a good assassin, you're not going to stop it. Not going to stop it. Anyway, sorry. Sorry I went off on that weird tangent. It just made me think about how precious life is, you know. You just never know. And I really, for the woman that was in that video, I mean, her story's got to be, I don't want to go outside anymore. I mean, the guy just popped up right in front of her and started shooting. Luckily, he was on the side. The words in the showcase were from a book about insurance claims refused. Oh, wow. Oh, well, good. This is going to turn into even more of a saga story. Anyway, let me move on here before it gets too late. I want to get into your earnings calendar and economic calendar for tomorrow, but why do I not have it open here? Where's my 4X factory? So the news, the economic data that came out today, not great. I'll start with the unemployment claims. Of course, the big news happens tomorrow, right? That's the real big one with the unemployment rate and the non-farm employment change. But the unemployment claims were, 9,000 higher than expected. That's not that bad, but it is showing a trend, or at least a slight move up here in the most recent number. Because before that, we've had unemployment claims on a nice slide, coming from over 260 down to 212. Great. Now all of a sudden we popped up, and the talk track from Jerome Powell is that he's concerned about unemployment rate continuing to rise. He also said, by the way, today that Bitcoin is not competing with the dollar. I like that. That's great. He says Bitcoin is competing with gold. Let's keep him thinking that. Let's keep Jerome Powell believing that Bitcoin is only competing with gold. At a certain point of adoption, if we get adoption on a scale that I believe is possible, which is every person in the world has the right and ability to use Bitcoin to pay for goods and services, then it's competing with every currency. And that will be the big one. Please borrow some batteries from Elon Musk and do a show tomorrow. No, I was going to do it from the office, but it's such a bad environment. Like, I'm so used to, I need my 3 screens. I need my space and my lights. It's going to look really rough and rugged and raw. Yeah, you guys will be fine without me. You'll be fine. So that's what's happening today. Let's go to your calendar so I can show you tomorrow's activity, because that is the big day. It's obviously the first Friday of every month is one of the bigger days for the month, and that is because we have the unemployment claims, or unemployment rate. Right now at 4.1 is where they're expecting it to be, and as you can see, it'll be the 3rd month in a row that we stayed at 4.1, which is fine. I think all market participants would be saying, great if we stay at 4.1. I don't really expect this to be too wild of a fluctuation tomorrow. Maybe it's 4.0, maybe it's 4.2, but I don't think you're going to see it jump to like 4.5 in one session. I doubt that would happen. And then if it did, that would create all kinds of waves and discussion for tomorrow. Non-farm employment change. They're expecting a significant jump in non-farm employment change, meaning a lot more job creation. That's great. We also have average hourly earnings, which is expected to decline. You have consumer credit numbers, so a lot of stuff coming out tomorrow. And on the earnings front, there really isn't anything exciting coming out tomorrow with regards to earnings. So we'll just skip that one right there. Let me go into charts just because I've got 2 not really big trades on. I guess they could be if they got exercised. But MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy was looking great, and then all of a sudden this gigantic red candle formed. We had this big gap up as Bitcoin broke that 100,000 mark, and then MicroStrategy gave back quite a bit of ground. We ended up being down on the day 4.83%, currently trading at 386. So I have, let's see, it would have to fall... it would have to fall about 9.37% to get to my strike price by tomorrow, which is possible. And if it did, I would be fine with that. I'll take it and sell some calls against it. But that's a bigger trade that I have open. And of course, the Rivian has been very exciting. I don't know if any of you are trading at Rivian as well, but I have the 1250 strikes expiring tomorrow. If we get near the end of the day tomorrow and we're below 1250, I'll probably sell calls against it tomorrow just to get that 2 extra days worth of premium over the weekend. But it's been interesting. We've popped above this a few times. And here we had a really nice jump today. The high intraday on Rivian was 1285. Again, I would love it if we just closed at 1249. 1249 is where I want to have this closed tomorrow, and that way I can sell some calls against it, get a lot more premium. And you know that spreadsheet that I shared with you guys yesterday, I'd love it to just keep on. I'd love to have to add columns to it where I continually sell premium. I'd love to get to the point where every week Rivian moves up a little bit, but my calls are just out of reach. So let's say it moves up 49 cents a week, and my calls are 50 cents higher for the week. That would be the perfect thing for me. And then at some point, if you do that long enough, I'll look at my spreadsheet, and my break-even cost would be like negative. If it went bankrupt, I'd still make money, right? That'd be a fun one. All right, so Ken, you got 1,500 shares of Rivian, so you can do 15 calls on that one. Long term, I think you'll kill it on MicroStrategy. I think we will as well, but remember, I'm just doing puts on MicroStrategy now. I have not been exercised, but if I do, that's fine. I'm fine to hold MicroStrategy. I'm concerned about the transparency and validity of the numbers, but I don't think that those chickens will come home to roost anytime soon. And I think because of the strength of Bitcoin over the next year or so, it could certainly be one of those hold on to it and sell calls against it. The premium is just too outrageous, honestly. Let's see. Merlin, just an idea. If MicroStrategy looks to be close to your strike, but you are good at owning it at your strike, see what kind of premium you can collect to roll it into the 12/13 expiration. I'll just sell puts again, right? I'll collect that premium. I'll let them expire worthless. Or if they expire worthless, great. If I do get it, then I'll just sell those calls right away. So I won't roll it. I'll just let it come to fruition. Was assigned at 1650 on Rivian a while ago. Been waiting for another pop-up to be able to get some good premium on covered calls. You know, the tough part with that one, John, is this. And this has happened to me before, and it drives me nuts. So if John's in Rivian at 1650, so you've got a ways to go to get there, obviously. I don't need to be the one to tell you that. If we put that line right here at 1650, you know, that's quite a ways away, 16.5. So what's happened to me before is a situation like that, and I've been selling calls, you know, on that position. The tough part is if you were to sell something like the $14 call, which because you don't want to get out of this, you want to hopefully get it back up to your value where you were exercise those calls at 1650. I've done this where, all right, I'm going to sell the calls at 14. That's far enough away. I'm not going to get exercise, and I'll just kind of add a little bit of, you know, lower my cost basis, and then all of a sudden it comes screaming back up. This happened to me with IWM a while back. This was brutal. Was this back here? Yeah, this was October of last year. This was back in here. I had sold the 165 puts on Russell 2000, and I had sold 10 of them. So that was, you know, 1,000 shares of this, which is $164,000 of capital. Those were put to me, and I'm like, okay, fine. And I'm sorry, it was 185. So I was put at 185, and then as this thing kind of sold off, I kept selling calls against it to lower my cost basis. And then once it was down here at 165, I had sold like the 175s, and it executed and took my shares away. So I was down overall because I was put at 185 and they were taken away at 175. I was frustrated with that. So unfortunately, that's just one of the perils of selling calls on a position that you're underwater on. Hopefully it works out well for you. Venara, I'll get to yours in just a second. Use a revolver, don't have to police brass then. Absolutely. Revolver, you got 6 shots on it, and your brass stays in the gun. What happened to me on Rivian, and that happened to me, Rivian got lucky to roll out of some up at a pretty good premium. All right, good. All right, let's look at Venara's call on Tesla, TSLA. Venara says, I have a sell call 360 on Tesla expiring tomorrow. I hope it will come back down from 360 tomorrow. Well, I have a belief that you can't use the word hope, that we don't use the word hope. And it did look like, you know, we're building an ascending triangle, which means we're getting stronger and stronger. But just given the way the markets are performing, I did think we'd close below 360 tomorrow. You have positive news. There was some upgrades on Tesla today from, I think, Bank of America upgraded the Tesla price target to 400. Those are one-off events, right? When you get an analyst like Bank of America upgrade your stock, it sucks if it's working against you. In this case, you know, you don't want your shares taken away at 360, but because Bank of America, I believe it was Bank of America, gave an upgrade today, people just buy it. just automatic, and we might not see it come back down tomorrow. Yeah, I usually don't sell calls on something I'm in the red unless I just want out. Yeah, what I try to do is obviously I'll try to sell the calls at my strike price, but when you're at 16.50 on Rivian, that's a little far away from current price to really get any realistic premium. What are you going to get, like 1 penny? You're going to pay more in commissions on the transaction. Okay, any other things you guys want to discuss before we wrap up here for today? We went through economic announcements. We talked about earnings announcements. I guess I can go through the top 10 or top 8. Let's do that real quick while you guys type in questions. Worst performer today, Russell 2000, down 1.24%. Big picture-wise, this is nothing. This is nothing at all. It broke a high on on Monday. Now it's rolling over a little bit. Fine. As long as it stays above that 2,320 mark, you should be fine on the Russell. Gold, down 1%. We talked about this. Stay inside that yellow box. If it does, don't do anything, right? Just leave it alone. You could trade the range, but for me, I would just leave it alone. Your dollar index was down 0.6. This one's a little bit more interesting because I talked about this 106 whole number psychology, and then we broke down below it, bounced up above it, but had no rally, no momentum. And now all of a sudden, it's showing a lot of weakness. So this, surprising to me, could end up being a much bigger sell-off for that dollar index. I don't see the justification for it. I don't see why the dollar index would be selling off like this, but it feels like it is. So right now, we're getting that rollover effect. It didn't make a new high over this week. Now, if we break those lows we established last Friday, which is a low point of 105.61, we break that, I think you're now really putting on some bigger downside movement here for the dollar index. Not what I was expecting for sure. Crude oil. Nothing has changed here. It's actually just gotten more compressed. We've been talking about this for weeks now, where it's making lower highs and slightly higher lows, or about the same lows. So this is really more of a compression sign to the downside, not a positive thing for crude oil at all. NASDAQ 100 is fourth place out there today. Beautiful. We broke all-time highs yet again today. However, look at the range, right? We've had the last 5 days have had just big expanded range candles, or ERCs. And today, a very small compressed range at the top here after it set an all-time high. This is a bearish Harami formation, which would lead me to believe that if we close down below 21,437 tomorrow, or at any point between now and tomorrow, that's a shorting opportunity for the NASDAQ. So I would keep my eyes open for a potential short opportunity here tomorrow on the NASDAQ. S&P, similar picture. I'll put the same line on there so for my podcasters you can hear this as well. A break below 6,081 on the S&P futures right now, that would be a sell signal as well. Bitcoin, we already talked about Bitcoin. Man, talk about a bull trap. Ripped up, came right back down. I'm not sure we're done, but so far, that's what we got. And then the 10-year. 10 years in a new session, but you can see we were actually a green candle today, came back down and closed right near the lows. Does feel like it's drifting lower. I should have made a wager with Big Eb when it was at 4.25 and said, is it going to be below 4 or above 450? All right, we can split the difference there. But now, I don't know. We got a month to go before it potentially get down below that 4% mark. I don't think it'll happen, but I've been wrong multiple times before, so we'll see. All right, what do we got here? Big Eb says, I noticed that there is 2 times leverage long ticker. Yeah, MSTX. A leverage on a leverage instrument. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with that? Yeah, MSTX. One thing to pay attention to, MSTX. Well, obviously, you're going to have tremendous volatility, but one thing that you got to keep your eye on here is the volume on it. Oh, wow. Way higher than I anticipated. 15.19 million volume on this. So you've got really good volume here. I was expecting this to be much lower, but you're averaging well over 1 million, so this would be in play and acceptable. This should not be held long-term. This should be a short-term trading strategy vehicle on doubles and triples and things like that. Forget it. I think it's crazy. Far enough out of the money. Let's see. What did Steve say? Big I sold the $60 puts on that and has some good premiums. All right. And American Electric Power for you, Vanara? Well, what is the picture telling us? The picture tells us that there's waves that are happening with American Electric Power. It's also telling me that the most recent stuff, which starts back here in October of 2023, extremely bullish like the rest of the market. However, all that changed back here in early November. I would argue that November 6th or 7th was your big change day for AEP. It started making lower highs, but you had this floor, which was still kind of in play. Then all of a sudden we broke down below that. So to me, I'm in a bearish mode here on AEP. I would say you short the rallies and you stay short on AEP. Why? Just because the shorter term trend here is weak. Could you look at the longer term trend, this one here, and say it was just a pullback? Yes. But I guess it depends on what your portfolio objectives are. If you're a long-term investor, then you're still holding on until that kind of broader trend line is broken. I'm a shorter-term guy, more swings. I'd be looking for short opportunities on this one. Les says, do you see an end-of-the-year window dressing that might cause a sell-off? Well, I don't know. It's a tricky one. You know, we look forward to the end of this year or end of a year because of typically the Santa Claus rally, right? I think the average historical rate of return for that 7-day window of time is 1.3% for the last 5 days and the first 2 of January. I'm always a fan of everything works until it doesn't, and I'm also a fan of the more that people think one way, then the more likely I need to think the opposite direction. Everyone I've been talking to is expecting it to be a very bullish December. I haven't seen any analysts say that it's going to be a weak December. So it leads me to believe we are going to have a weak December. Does that mean that window dressing is going to hinder things? Look, they're going to sell off the weak performers, but really, what weak performers have we had? Most stuff has been pretty good performers. So I don't think that window dressing is going to be that big of a factor this year. You know, selling off the garbage in your portfolio and buying the good stuff so you look better. I don't think that's going to be the case. Also, typically when you get window dressing, what happens is they'll sell the stuff that's been underperforming and they buy the stuff that has been performing, which tells you what? That tells you that tech is probably going to be the play near the tail end of the year. I mean, if you look here, we still have this head and shoulders pattern to come to fruition, but Meta, I mean, you know that these funds are going to be putting Meta in their portfolio. Nvidia still teetering with their all-time highs. Apple looking absolutely fantastic. Amazon, all-time highs. Microsoft, still below its all-time highs, but looking good on the year for sure. And Tesla, phenomenal. So it would not surprise me to see in the second half of this month more money pouring into those, which will drive the market higher because of the heavier weighted components. So, you know, that's my argument for the bullish side of things. Is the window dressing, if they do in fact sell out of these positions, they'll buy the strong ones, most of that being tech, and that could push markets higher. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be a huge factor this year, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not forecasting anything big for the month of December. Historically, I would say it's going to be a positive month, and if that's the case, our list of winners for the forecasting the price of the S&P. There can be some pretty high estimates there. You know, you look at the SPY right now, S&P futures. I know a lot of you are talking about 6,000. Well, we're past that. I think let's see. I think I had I may have taken it off here. I thought I had Scott McCormick's forecast. I think he had like 6,500 was his forecast for the S&P. Well, who knows? We could get there. Steve says, ooh, if interested, I'm now selling puts on HE. Selling puts on HE. This one still makes me nervous. I can't do this one. I can't do that, Steve. That's risky to me. Seems like they have bottomed, and I think that it has a big upside if you're willing to hold it a while. Remember, I have not followed this since those Hawaii fires. So I wrote an article on this one on kind of why you don't want to buy it. And then it had a big, nice rally, of course. Did they settle all those lawsuits that were being thrown at them for what happened in Hawaii? If that's all cleared and out of the way, then yes, I think you're fine with the uptrend. If there's still that dark cloud looming if there's still a dark cloud looming over the lawsuit aspect for HE, I wouldn't. Because those lawsuits can cause massive moves in a very short window of time. Too risky for me. But if that has been settled and there's no residue of that going forward, then yeah. I mean, obviously they need to rebuild the infrastructure. Trend's starting to look pretty nice for the past couple of months. They settled, they said. All right. Well, then you're probably, I mean, to me it's about risk management, right? Risk management. No, we did talk about it just a little bit. You know, Santa Claus rally is just one of those mantras that's there for a reason. I'm going to write an article probably for the Trading Academy newsletter on the Santa Claus rally. But historically, statistically, December is a decent month, but really the last 5 days and first 2 days of January are the best performing 7-day window of time on average in the market. So What does that mean? Does that mean that on the day before, we'll bring up a calendar here. Let me bring up a calendar. Let's see. I'll bring this up for you guys. We'll bring up a calendar right here. So if we look at December, the last 5 days would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means the 25th of December is when the Santa Claus rally starts. So does that mean on Monday the 23rd you just buy the SPY, just buy a basket? Probably not a bad idea, because it should rally 1.3% from the 25th through January 2nd. That's typically how it goes. Thanks, Big Eb. HE settled for like $2 billion. Great. That's good, because now that's off their books. I did not know that. After I wrote the article, I just stopped following them. Oh, yes, he wants to pull the December rate cut. Here I was thinking I got a 30-minute show on me today. Not happening. Let me start a poll, and this is for you, Margaret. What will the Fed do on the 18th? Question mark. And let me type. I'll type in a chat here. My spelling's going to be off. Apologize. Well, I'll fix it. I just, taking time to type and talk at the same time is tough. Keep the rates the same. Cut by 0.25. I'll add in an option here. Cut by 0.5. And how about a third one, which is raise 0.25. All right. There's your poll. We've got a bunch of people in here. I expect to see a lot of reviews. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to hurt you at all. What will the Fed do on the 18th? Are they going to cut? Are they going to raise? Stay the same? What do you think is going to happen? Now, as I wait for you guys to type in those, and again, don't be shy. You guys are all sitting there just listening and doing something. Just reach over, click a button, see how many people we can get to do this poll. If we look at the current hypothesis, or current forecast, if you will, it is that we're going to have a 25 basis point cut. Now, let's see how much that's changed. It's changed a little bit. So now it's 70%. I'm putting myself in, I can't vote on the survey, but I think you're going to see a cut of 25 basis points. Personally, I think what they should do is they should leave rates right where they're at. They should not do another cut for the end of the year. That's, if I was a voting member of the FOMC, I'm absolutely adamant that I'd be saying, no, guys, we do not need to cut 25 basis points. You have gone on publicly in your interview you just did at the book club in New York. You said economy is looking great. You were impressed with how strong the economy was. So why are you juicing it more? We don't need, save your ammunition, save your bullets for when you need those bullets. And lowering 25 basis points is a big bullet. So I would be fighting tooth and nail so that the Fed would not cut. Just hold. Just go pause for a second. Take a little breath. Exhale. That's what they should do. However, I think the market's already built in that expectation of a 25 basis point cut. And I think that that's what they're going to do, but they shouldn't. They really shouldn't. All right, I'm going to give you the poll here. Actually, I'll read some questions, then I'll go to the poll. Janet, click on the poll that's in the chat. Benara says, how do you close Christmas rally trade? When stocks move up or down, I always have break even or small negative. I have puts to 4. Well, I mean, I'm talking about going directional in the market. So the average market return is 1.3% for the last 5 days plus the first 2. If that's the case, would you be selling puts? Probably buying calls, right? Going directional and capitalizing on that 1.2% move up, or you could buy SPY and you could sell covered calls against it that are like 2% away. Great. Now you're going to get that 1.3% gain if the market does what it's supposed to do, plus the premium that you had, right? I know, Margaret. Only 22 votes? Come on, people. You can do better than that. Would be a nice Christmas thing. Go long on the 25th. Got it. Not financial advice, buddy. Not financial advice. But I might do that. I might just buy on that Monday, the 23rd, just buy a couple thousand of SPY and then sell calls against that are 2% higher and see what comes out of that. Because I'll probably, if I sell 2% higher on the SPY, I'll probably get myself an extra 1 or 2% on top of the 1.3% gain I get on the underlier. So kind of a win-win doubling up. Does anyone use volatility meter for options? I don't. I use not that I don't use when I hear volatility meter, Margaret, I'm thinking of VIX. IV gauge, yeah, I like the IV gauge. I think IV gauge is an important one to kind of just to reiterate where things are at and looking at how volatile things are. Okay, let me wrap up here. I already went your economic calendar. I did your earnings. It's 2:53, almost an hour show again today. I was all heart set on being a half-hour show. Didn't happen. Just so you know, reminder, no show tomorrow. My apologies. I just have no power. I guess I could try to do it from the office, but I'm going to be in there recording some stuff anyway, so I won't be doing a show tomorrow. Your results for the poll are this. There it is. Only 26 votes. Slackers out there today. 65% of you said it's gonna get cut by 25 basis points. 23 said keep it the same. Raise. 7% of you said they're raised by 25. That would be a shock to the system. That would be a kick in the teeth right there. If they raise 25 basis points, holy cow, the market would lose it. It'd be crazy. I would hope not, but stranger things have happened. And then 3% said cut by 50 basis points. That would be the only reason we should cut by 50 basis points is if there's something very bad on the horizon, like really bad. It doesn't look like there is. Ivy kind of tells you if you want to be a seller or a buyer, right? If seller or buyer, if you have those extremes on that. All right, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Congratulations to all of you that are holding your Bitcoin, although now it's back down under 100,000, so that's not the greatest. But we will see. It will move to the upside here over the next few months for sure, and hopefully we'll get back above 100 and challenge that 250 target that I've got for it right now. So thank you guys so much. If you have something you want to talk about on tomorrow's show, email me, let me know. Oh, I had questions too. Dab nabbit. I'll have to get to these other questions on another show. So Mark and Michael both asked me crypto-related questions on Bitcoin and Cardano. I'll get to those on Monday's show. So thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic remainder of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Take care.